Hey there, Skullheads. I'm Snags.
And I'm Ol Silky.
And tonight we're talking about the mighty one and only, the Holy Trinity, which everybody knows Holy Trinity refers to the Three Stooges.
Yeah,
Curly,
of course.
Larry, and Moe.
And well, I'm sure we'll talk about Shemp, but
yeah, we'll talk about the other ones. But really the classic lineup is Curly, Larry, and Moe. We'll talk
much
about
like
Joe.
Lemmy, Eddie, and Filthy.
Yeah, exactly. You got your classic lineup of any group. And we're going to get into that. But first, Ol Silky is going to pimp the website and then tell you about a cool album he found.
So go on snagsandsilky.com. There's no playlist for tonight's episode, but you can certainly go on Amazon Prime and watch the complete Three Stooges.
We'll link Three Stooges shorts, either the box set or streaming or whatever, and a couple books I'm going to be talking about tonight. We'll link those.
So on our website, though, you can check out playlists from other episodes. Look into links for those specific episodes for books, movies, things you need to check out. It's all right there, a one-stop shop.
Yeah, and also we're too lazy to market this podcast, so you do it for us. Go tell your friends, post links to episodes on your favorite forums and Reddit.
Feel free to
whatever you kids do these days.
Yeah, tell people you listen to things.
Yeah, go out on a street corner and just start ranting about the Snags and Silky podcast. Find a busy intersection, Bring some Mad Dog 2020 and a random umbrella or something.
I'm drinking Crown and Coke tonight.
There you go. I was drinking Lafroig Scotch last night. I had a long day, and Lafroig fixed that for me. It was great.
So that's check the website, snagsandsilky.com. Get it rocking. Buy some merch.
Yeah. So before we start talking about the Three Stooges, we got a little bit of pre-show banter stuff we want to get out of the way. Why don't you start, Silky?
Okay. So on a whim, and you'll see there's one of these for Van Halen, the David Lee Roth stuff.
Shit.
There's one for Black Sabbath, and I just took a chance and picked up Iron Maiden, the Broadcast Collection, 1981 to 1995. I'm showing this to Snags, basically, because no one else can see this. But this is for...
First of all, where did you pick it up?
Oh, off of Amazon.
So if I search Van Halen, the Broadcast Collection, I can find that Roth era live.
It'll all pop up. Yeah.
Shit, bros. How much was it?
15, 20, I don't know.
Oh, shit. I'm going to be looking that up while you talk about this. Continue.
Yeah, check that out. If you just do Van Halen broadcast years or something like that, there's a slew of other bands. I took a chance on this, and this is actually really top quality, straight off the radio. However, CD 1 and 2 is Paul Diano, who recently passed away, doing basically the Killers stuff. This also includes the Live in Japan concert that they took that famous EP from. And then CD 3 is the Number of the Beast tour. And then CD 4 and 5 are Blaze Bayley stuff, so you can just really leave those two alone.
Well, if you need a coaster for your coffee cup, those will work perfectly.
But I mean these first three,
I know
the sound quality is ridiculous.
The Paul Diano stuff live, that's worth the purchase there. I mean, that was just incredible stuff.
I'm so pleased that this sounds good. I just wasn't sure. And it comes to mind, there's a Rush live in 74 that's like a broadcast thing, and it's straight off the radio. It's fantastic. And
nice.
That specific Rush concert, they do a song that never made it anywhere else. I think it's called "In the Garden," something like that.
Huh. Let me guess. By lyrics inspired by Ayn Rand, written by Neil Peart.
I'm sure. Well, this is probably with John Russi playing drums.
Oh shit, that's album. Early. So that's when they had the lyrics like, "Hey baby, it's 1:45."
Yes,
the pretending
I'm
like
in the mood.
Hearing Geddy Lee sing Kiss lyrics is just weird. But, those are basically Kiss lyrics. All right, so one thing I wanted to just share, and then there's another thing we both want to mention, and then we'll get into it. But you know us, we like to ramble a bit first. I mentioned in the other episode, I'm reading this book. It's called Remain in Love. It's Chris France from the Talking Heads, and who's married to Tina Weymouth, the bass player. And it's just about their lives, but most of it is about the Talking Heads, since that was a big highlight.
I hear
of their
Tina
lives.
Could clear a room with a beer fart. Is that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Right. The cutest human being on the planet who can clear a room with a beer fart.
I mean, Tina Weymouth can just lay a beefy down.
Yeah, that's why Dee Dee Ramone had a crush on her. It was her farting ability.
Nice.
Anyways, I got a Dee Dee Marone. I got a Dee Dee Ramone story from this book that has nothing to do with Tina Weymouth. But so the Talking Heads were basically the Ramones' go-to opening band until they got big enough to headline their own shows. They always open shows for the Ramones, and so the Ramones are doing a tour of Europe, and they're all meeting at the airport in New York. And Dee Dee Ramone comes limping in. And they're like, "What's wrong, Dee Dee?" And he's like, "Oh, my girlfriend stabbed me in the ass last night." So, fucking stabbed him in the ass, and he's got to get on this like 8-hour flight to London.
One of the Ramones books, he talks about getting stabbed by her.
Yeah, she was the
psycho.
And it hurts to sit down. And he's getting on an 8-hour flight to London, getting stabbed in the ass. And he had this cane with him, like this pimp cane. Mm-hmm. And the road manager was wise to what was going on, and he takes the pimp cane away from Dee Dee after a bit of a struggle, unscrews the handle, and just pours out all these drugs. It was filled, which would have gotten Dee Dee thrown in jail because the customs people are wise to that kind of shit.
I don't know that they had X-rays at that point, but they certainly would have
unscrewed the handle. Yeah. So he basically said, "All right, you can have enough drugs to get you through this flight since your girlfriend stabbed you in the ass." But he had to take the drugs. He couldn't bring them on the plane. You swallow whatever drugs you can now, and we're flushing the rest down the toilet. And this is in the airport.
Yeah.
Right before they get to security. Anyways, I just thought that was fun. Typical Dee Dee Ramone.
Yeah. I don't know how much was in the book about that, but if I remember, you didn't really have to get into too big of an argument for that bitch to just grab something.
Oh, yeah.
Like she was not right.
She was a bit off kilter, yeah. They all were, Wow. Johnny Ramone was a fucking nutcase too. I mean, there's a lot of stories in there, but I just thought that one was funny. Dee Dee Ramone gets stabbed in the ass.
That's fucked.
So we'd be remiss. We're recording this on January 16th, 2025, and we would be remiss if we didn't pay homage to the great David Lynch, who has just passed away, 78 years old.
The three movies or three items that I would mention to remember him would be Eraserhead, Blue Velvet, and Wild at Heart. Those are.
Don't forget Elephant Man. That was pretty good too.
Elephant Man, yeah. Very, very abstract, but well acted. That was epic. After those four is really opinionated stuff.
It's debatable after that. He did want, he basically, I think he fell into this trap of everybody says everything I do is brilliant, so that must be the case. And he just kind of stopped trying with the writing.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just,
that and
let's just get some actors together and act weird for 2
let's
hours.
be weird just to be weird,
Right.
and not tie it into any kind of
There was
relevant.
one good movie he did that was a script. I think it was written by the woman who edited his films. It was written by an associate. He didn't write it, but he directed it, about this old person who rides a lawnmower to another state. You remember that one?
With Bruce Dern.
Yeah. That was
really good. I think
that
it's
was
called
good.
Nevada or
No, that's let's find out. We got
Nebraska.
No, that's a different director. I know who you're talking about there. No, this is
well, the one I know, the one I'm thinking of is Bruce Dern on a lawnmower.
I know the one called Nebraska is a different director though.
Okay.
Let me look this up. David Lynch lawnmower movie.
This is all stuff we should have already, but
nah, it's fine. Fuck it.
Loose.
Hey, if this bothers you out there, fuck off. If you can't take a joke. All right, The Straight Story. This is 1999. It's based on the true story of Alvin Straight, a 73-year-old man who travels from Iowa to Wisconsin on a lawnmower to visit his dying brother.
Is that Bruce Dern though?
Let's see who.
It's either Bruce Dern or I'm going Bruce Dern.
No, Bruce Dern was. I know which one you're talking about. It's a different director.
Damn it.
Richard Farnsworth played Alvin Straight. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, that one called Nebraska or whatever. Some other director. I think
that's a much better movie.
Yeah. Anyways, The Straight Story is a good flick. It's a little bit of deviation from it was when David Lynch was in his Mulholland Drive, let's just act weird phase.
Yeah.
I've been being told by the wife that Mulholland Drive is a good movie. We're all entitled to our opinions.
It's just the beat. Let's be weird for weird's sake.
I just got flipped off.
the being weird for weird's sake, and there's no relevant tie-in to any kind of reality.
Yeah, but
i.e. the Twin Peaks stuff.
Yeah. He also did. There's some shorts out there that he did before Eraserhead. Like there's one called The Grandmother, where this kid plants a seed in a bed to grow a grandmother. Just weird shit like that.
Yeah,
we had
that's
those,
like college stuff.
We had those on VHS way back in the day. And
I saw some of that, and it tied into the kind of the weirdness of
Eraserhead.
But it was brilliant,
Yeah.
But anyway,
if you think about growing up in the 80s when there was so much crap and mainstream cinema, and you had David Lynch, you always knew you were going to get a new weird ass fucking movie from this bizarre cat who did not give a fuck what anybody thought. And even after we stopped liking his stuff, he still didn't give a fuck what we thought. I'm going to make Inland Empire. I don't care. Fuck you. So you got to admire that.
There is something about, people do just cookie cutter things and you get kind of complacent and used to that. And then every once in a while you get a David Lynch or a Butthole Surfers that just comes and really scrambles shit around.
Yeah.
And that is appealing. And you are drawn to that.
My uptight
in small doses, because I do tend to fall back on your basic blues based types of things. But I really, and you too, we both kind of have the same taste in music, just at different times.
And movies and stuff, nothing like a classic noir. But what I was going to say is one thing I loved about Blue Velvet, aside from Dennis Hopper's amazing performance, was the fact that my English teacher, Mrs. Guy was her name, fucking hated Blue Velvet with a passion. She rabidly hated that movie, which made me like it even more. So,
Yeah, I always tend to think, well, you just didn't understand it. I work with someone who recently saw Nosferatu.
Right.
The new one.
Yeah.
And it was done as a devoted fan of the original. It was brilliant. It actually made, bizarrely, I've seen the original enough times and I own it, but this remake actually made me understand the ending, where I didn't realize I didn't understand it until I saw this new one. But
There you
I
go.
worked with somebody who was like, "What the fuck? You owe me $18." I'm like, "I don't know you a goddamn thing."
So you recommended it?
I just mentioned it was coming out, is what I did.
Hilarious. Yeah.
I hadn't seen it yet.
Right.
And they were like, "Oh my God, I sat there, we hate it." And I'm like, "You didn't understand it."
Yeah.
They
There's people.
movie. Goth is a whole other thing.
There's people tuned into this podcast who are saying that to us about the later era David Lynch movies, So
that's
everybody,
They get your own podcast.
Everybody's got their opinions. Anyways, so let's get into Three Stooges before
Three Stooges.
Yeah. So I've been on this Three Stooges kick recently. I read a couple books. I want to give a shout out about the books first, and then we'll kind of get into the history of the Three Stooges. But Mo Howard wrote an autobiography in the mid 70s. It was actually almost completed when he died. It wasn't published. So his daughter, Joan Howard Marr, finished the manuscript and got it published. It's basically his autobiography. He had a photographic memory. So he's telling you details from like the early 1900s up until, the 60s when they're doing those movies with Joe DeRita, Curly Joe DeRita. And it's called I Stooged to Conquer. It's fucking great. I highly recommend it.
It's only in paperback. You can't get it as a Kindle.
I've got it on the Hoopla app. If you go to hoopla.com and you just put your library card in there, you get all kinds of free audiobooks and Kindle style books. You just use the Hoopla app instead of Kindle. That has saved me probably $1,000 or $2 on books because I always look for it there first. The electronic version is on Hoopla. Check it out. All you need is for free. All you need is your library card number. Anyway,
I'm not going to do it.
I know you're not. You got to own it. You got to own it, man.
I would like to. I don't know where my library card is. So.
Well, you go get a new one. But anyways.
It's too much.
Okay. Well, I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just letting people know it's out there. And then Joan Howard Marr, Mo's daughter, then after making sure her dad's autobiography got published, she wrote a biography on Curly, which is fucking awesome. So you get Mo's story and then you get Curly's story. If you read those books back to back, which I just did, they're just fucking great. So let's talk about them for a little bit. So their whole story begins in Lithuania. There's this cat named Solomon Horwitz, and Solomon Horwitz, who ended up being their father. He's going to come to America, and there's the whole backstory of why he was leaving Lithuania and coming to America, which I forget the exact details, but he's basically coming to America, and his parents basically felt like he wasn't strong enough to last on his own, and there was a girl in their village named Jenny Gorovitz, and they were good friends with her parents, and she was really kind of more emotionally strong and of a person. And they basically
in Europe,
Lithuania, yeah,
Lithuania,
and it's basically kind of an arranged marriage. They're like, Jenny should marry Solomon and go because he's not going to make it if he goes by himself. And so that's what happened. They got married, and they stayed married for their entire lives. So it worked out. They get to New York. Basically the funny thing is Solomon goes out to, be the breadwinner for the family. And his idea is he's going to peddle wares on the street. So he's
Right.
like, walking down the street with like, I don't know, like silver knives and forks or watches or whatever, just trying to sell stuff to people walking by. And he ends up getting mugged and gets all his shit stolen. Comes back home, and so the wife is like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to become the breadwinner. And over the next few decades, she becomes a millionaire real estate tycoon. So their parents,
Wow.
they were poor when they were young, but as they got older, their parents got rich. And it was mainly the mother just running this real estate business, flipping real estate
And we
in New
have to
York.
say, when these immigrants came to New York, it was make or break. You had to you either had vaudeville, your creative side, people doing crazy, silly shit up on a stage. I can juggle, I can sing a couple songs, whatever, just to make money. And then you had innovators that just said, you know what, I might be a female in New York, but I'm gonna do this real estate thing. It's
It was
you don't
rare
hear
for the
that.
times, obviously.
You don't hear that too much.
Yeah. So, and the funny thing is, she had 5 sons, and she always wanted a daughter. So when Mo was young, she let his hair grow out, and she would curl his hair.
Come on, man.
So he was always getting his ass kicked in school because his hair was all curly.
Fantastic.
And at some point, he just puts a bowl on his head and cuts all the curls off.
Nice.
And that was the first bowl cut. That's how that bowl cut came to be.
Yeah.
And so basically Mo is born in 1897. Shimp is born in 1895. Curly's born in 1903. They called him Babe because he was the youngest. There's
and,
two.
And Shemp's name was Sam, but
Samuel.
It's the way the mom said Sam.
With her accent, she says Shimp.
And very much like Geddy Lee. His real name was Gary, but his mother.
Oh, really? That's where that came
English.
from?
Geddy.
That is hilarious.
Gary, yeah.
So the mom always wanted her sons to be serious businessmen, and she had 5 of them. There's 2 others that actually became, had serious jobs, but 3 of her 5 sons ended up being comedians instead. She was a little bit more supportive of it than the father, but Mo just basically became obsessed with acting. He'd go see plays constantly, and he would memorize. He'd pick one actor out and just kind of memorize their part and go see it over and over again. He did some extra work in some silent films. A funny story from around this time, when Mo and Shimp are in their late teens, early 20s, probably late teens, but somewhere around this time when Mo's, getting into acting, him and Shimp and a group of their friends are walking down the boardwalk in Atlantic City, and it's summer, a warm summer day in New York. The sun's going down. It's starting to get dark, and it's like 5 guys, and they all have their girlfriends with them. Mm-hmm. And they start trying to talk the girls into going skinny dipping with them. They're like, "Hey, let's get naked. Let's get naked and go jump in the water."
Sun's going down.
Yeah, and they're on some remote part of the, and they finally just convinced them. Like, they got the girls to agree. And Shimp leans over to Mo and goes, "Man, I really got to take a shit." And Mo's like, "All right, well, hurry up and do it and come back." Yeah. And so Shimp's like, I'll be right back. I dropped something back there, make some excuse. And he runs under the boardwalk, right? And it's getting dark, so he can't see completely clearly, but he thinks he sees a log under the boardwalk. He's like, "I'll go take a shit by that log." So he crouches down, pulls his pants down, and starts shitting. And he finishes shitting, and he thinks oh my God, somebody left a napkin down here. That's perfect. So he reaches for the napkin to grab it to wipe his ass, realizes it's not a paper napkin. It's a handkerchief, and it's in somebody's hand. Oh. And what had happened was these two lovebirds were down there laying on the ground making out when this guy walks towards them and they freeze and proceeds to pull down his pants, stick his ass in their face, and start shitting.
Oh my God.
and then tries to take the guy's handkerchief out of his hand.
Wow.
Shemp, this is all in that Moe's autobiography. Shemp just flips out because he's like freaked out. It's a hand, you know. He thought he was all alone, and he just bolts and starts running back the direction he came from. His pants are still down, slams his head on a rafter under the boardwalk, and gets knocked out cold.
Nice.
And so, like, an hour goes by up on the boardwalk where Moe and the other guys are waiting around, and the girls are waiting around for Shemp. He never comes back. So finally, Moe goes looking for him.
Jesus
goes up under the boardwalk, and Shemp is out cold, laying there. His pants are down. He's got shit all over his ass.
Dick out, shit, sand. Fantastic.
And they basically wake him up and bring him up and make him go swimming to watch.
Yeah.
Totally ruined the whole skinny dipping mood.
Oh, that's
classic Shemp right there.
And I wonder, you know, when you look at Shemp, he does have a head wound. I wonder if that's from that.
Might be. It might be.
Know.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was just it's kind of a head, but when Shemp had his little brief thing with them, he went on to Hollywood, thought he was gonna be a big movie star, and it didn't.
Oh yeah. We'll get to that. So basically, Moe ends up meeting this cat named Ted Healy, who's got a vaudeville act. And he starts being Ted Healy's sidekick. Then eventually they meet Larry Fine, who's got this comedy act where he plays violin. They bring him on.
Guys, before, if you don't know what vaudeville is, vaudeville toured around the world. You didn't have touring bands like Metallica and shit like that.
You didn't have Metallica back in 1916?
No, not in 1916.
Oh, okay. I thought you did.
A few years after, but vaudeville was just a hodgepodge of, you might have some guy come out and do Shakespearean soliloquies,
and then you'd have a knife thrower.
Somebody doing just a complete. Let's get anybody that's willing to get up in front of these fucking animals and do something.
Yeah, and it was rowdy. It was like
I can charge to fill seats, but people went with rotten fucking fruit and vegetables specifically to just pummel who was on stage. It was very
it was rough and tumble. If you could make it on vaudeville. So Moe and Larry, and then eventually Shemp, they get Shemp to join. They're all touring with Ted Healy, touring vaudeville, and it's basically it's right before he meets Ted Healy, or right around the same time, he meets this woman named Helen Schonberger and marries her. They stay married for the rest of their lives. Then, gets with Ted Healy, and it's basically Ted. They're a lot of different ways. Ted Healy and his Southern Gentlemen, Ted Healy and his Racketeers, but the name that stuck was Ted Healy and his Stooges. So it was Moe, Larry, and Shemp with Ted Healy as the lead guy, and he was always the good-looking guy who was the lead in the act, and they were the goofballs. But really, when it came down to it, they were the funny ones, you know.
Right. Everybody loves slapstick.
Yeah. You know. Ted Healy was kind of the straight man.
Straight man, yeah.
And so they became pretty popular on the touring circuit. Ted Healy's getting like $1,000 a night or $1,500, something like that. But he only paid his Stooges $100 a night. And that's
still huge.
I know, but when he's getting like $1,000,
yeah.
and so but they were basically, and this was always a bit of a bone. And Ted Healy drank a lot. He could get drunk and become an asshole.
Sure.
And he was the Mo of the act basically. And when it was Ted Healy and the Stooges, Ted Healy was the guy slapping everybody.
Right. Okay.
And he would slap them too hard, and on stage, and get drunk and abusive, and was paying them shit compared to what he was getting paid.
Sure.
And so eventually Shemp just can't take it anymore. He leaves. And so meantime, Curly has gotten into show business. Oh, and Curly, he was the youngest one, and the mother was very, very protective of Curly, and she really didn't want him to follow Mo and Shemp into show business.
Right.
So he kind of did it against his mother's will. Speaking of Stooges, who we got here?
Oh. All right. Three Stooges rule. Three Stooges rule.
Three Stooges rule.
Say it louder.
Three Stooges rule.
That's right.
Kind of hard to say the name, honestly, but
wow.
Check out the website. We got action figures. We got Funko Pops. We got Lego sets. We got stickers.
Hoodies.
Hand grenades.
Hand grenades.
Hand grenades.
Personalized hand grenades.
Personalized hand grenades. We got sticky grenades. We got tanks.
Yeah.
We have nukes.
On the website.
We have an Optimus Prime at our disposal.
Yes, Optimus Prime at snagsandsilky.com. Yes.
That is available with a VIP deal.
Thank you.
Is coming out on
December
2026.
We got to put him in charge. That's very specific.
Good day, sir.
Put him in charge of marketing. So the mom really, because she wanted all her kids to be businessmen, and she's very protective of Curly, and really doesn't want him following them, but he does. And he actually got some kind of gig where he's a conductor with a band, and he was like the comedic conductor. They do this little comedy routine. So he got a gig on his own, but when Shemp quits the touring band with the touring group with Ted Healy, they bring Curly on. And at first, Curly was he was kind of a handsome ladies' man. Had a full head of hair.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I mean, you can see in the old shorts that he's all stubble, so he could easily grow it out.
No, he had a full head of hair. He was always, unlike Mo meets the love of his life early, marries her, and that's it. Curly was the exact opposite. Every night,
Helen Schoenberger, she's another one that could clear a room strictly with a beer. From bowel.
Yeah, with a beer fart.
Yeah.
That was probably Tina Weymouth in a previous life.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Even though she was alive when Tina was. But anyways, so so he was really, quite the suave, debonair guy. He would go to every weekend. He was at the dance halls dancing with the ladies. And so he's going to join the Stooges, but I think, and they didn't say this explicitly, but I kind of assumed Ted Healy was a little bit threatened by this guy being good looking and leading man type, because he was also a bit thinner at first.
Oh, Curly. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, you can only join if you shave your head. You got to look unique. And so Curly fucking shaved his head. He really wanted a career in show business.
Now, if you look at Curly in those early shorts, he is the penultimate punk. Shaved head.
Oh yeah. Oi.
Pants don't go all the way down. That was the look.
Yeah.
He is the first punk.
Curly was brilliant, and I'll just I compare. I'm in the middle of I've got the complete Three Stooges shorts box set, and I've seen a lot of these because, as you know, at our age when we were kids, you'd come home from school and that shit would just be on TV.
What was your first introduction to?
Just coming. I was a dork. As you know, where the word dork comes from.
Well, I know a geek is somebody that ate the head off a chicken.
A dork comes from the term dorky. A dorky kid is a kid who comes home and there's no parents, and they would leave the door key for the kid. And so, and basically, I was a dorky kid. Not a dorky kid. I was, of course, cool as shit. But anyways, that's where the term comes from. I would come home and the TV was. I get home a little after 3 o'clock or whatever, and the TV was my parent until my mom would get home at 6:30. Sure. My dad was off being a hippie, hitchhiking around the country, doing whatever. And so I would come home and I'm watching the Three Stooges, until fucking the Rookies comes on later, or whatever,
Yeah.
So that was my introduction to Three Stooges. What about yourself?
In the mornings, my mother would get up at 5 a.m. to go off. She was a welder. So that's a whole other Rosie Riveter kind of situation. But
your skinny Janis Joplin looking mother was a welder?
She was a fucking shipyard welder.
That's crazy.
In Baltimore. Spot welding, line, whatever, all the thing, TIG welding, everything.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Anyway,
arc welding.
There's another one.
Yeah.
I know she did all that shit, but anyway,
Tuesday welding.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a lot of us would have liked to have Tuesday welded.
Yeah, I'd weld the fuck out of that.
Yeah. Anyway, I would get up in the morning and you would watch The Great Space Coaster, which is a kid's thing. But
right.
After that, you had The Little Rascals.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I was just obsessed with Darla, Spanky, all of them. They were so good. And then the Three Stooges came on right after. And it's late 70s, but it was so easy to kind of fantasize about the 20s and 30s. I think I can't remember a time that I wasn't just intrigued by that time period.
The thing too about the Three Stooges is their humor is timeless. It really is. It's like I like Laurel and Hardy, and I like Abbott and Costello, and I like all that stuff. But there's something about the Three Stooges. It was just so direct, and the situations were so relatable, and they were so fucking funny.
Well,
it holds up to anything now.
I grew up going on job sites with my old man, and it was all construction. It was build a deck.
Tell the story about him stepping on the board.
Put in a skylight. Just all these projects on these big, rich houses.
Right.
Which is as I tell this, think of any Three Stooges that you've seen.
Yeah.
And it's winter time. They've closed schools. I don't want to go, but I get dragged out of the house and we go. We're going to do this job. It's snowing sideways. We're talking like 1984, 85.
Right.
It's freezing outside, and we're over in like Virginia Highlands area.
This was Atlanta. Which, by the way, it's freezing in Atlanta right now.
Is it?
It's going to go back down to the teens again this weekend.
What is that pizza joint over by Emory? Everybody's Pizza or
Everybody's was
Is it Everybody's?
Yeah, so that's the one by Emory. Yeah,
somewhere back in that neighborhood,
right?
Dr. Line has this big house, and he's getting all this work done. And we pull in, and we get out, and I'm there with my two uncles. This guy, Joe Winter, of all last names, his last name was Winter.
Right.
And it's the whole crew to do whatever my dad says. He points and yells and runs to Home Depot, and we do the work. And so we're there, and my dad comes out with this blueprint, and he's got a waffle hammer, and that's that real jagged, raggedy-edged hammer, and you use a type of nail that has the same texture.
Right.
He pulls his waffle hammer out. He's like, all right, here's the plan. And he throws his paper up and proceeds to just smash his thumb.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
Blood. I still remember blood splattering on the paper. here's the plan, and right on the plans of what the job we were going to do, and he's just and we're all like, what the fuck? And my two uncles, who were only 6 and 8 years older, we're fucking pissing ourselves. They're grabbing me, I'm grabbing them. We're like, oh, fuck. Is that the plan? I don't want to do that. And hilarity ensues.
That's funny.
And he's fucking screaming. And it's so cold, and there's this work outside to do. And we're like, fuck you. And somebody just goes and gets in the car, and I got back in the car, and we left. But,
tell the one about him stepping on the board.
Oh, so another one. I had come into town, or I'd gone over to my dad's house early in the morning. And, you get there thinking you're going to hang out, watch some, Casablanca on TV and shoot the shit, maybe have some beers and a little day drinking, nothing too crazy. Hey, we got to go over to this jobs real quick. And he would always sucker you. So you'd go thinking you're going to be 5 minutes, and you're there all day, and you're actually jacket off and shoveling or something.
Right. Shit. Yeah.
So we get over there, and we get to the front of the house, and he's like, all right, here's the key. Go around back. Watch your step here. As he turns, he's talking mid-sentence. This board flies up and just smashes him in the forehead.
Because he stepped on it, right?
Because he stepped on it.
Yeah.
He's trying to tell me the boards are loose. And just and I'd already gone down off the deck, and I'm like, oh God. And I go around the corner. I'm leaned up against the house. And I hear
dying
him,
laughing.
Son of a fuck. He's just like, would always put, shit together. He's fucking screaming cuss words. If the house hadn't been there, I'd been laying in the snow. I was fucking crying.
That is hilarious.
And he's just like, motherfucker, God damn it. And I finally managed to get into the back, unlock the back, open the front door. Here he's standing there with his blood coming down his forehead. He's like, lock it up. We're going home. And
that's hilarious.
We didn't do shit there.
I mean, but that's the kind of relatable humor that the Three Stooges bring. It's shit that happens to everybody, and it's always funnier when it's happening to somebody else. But
sure.
So but anyway, so I'm watching this. So you and I have seen you've had the box set longer than I have. You've probably seen all the shorts.
I've watched them all. They're all so good.
I've seen a lot of them, and I'm going through the box set now after having read those 2 books, and I'm still in the Curly phase, and his presence. I mean, I think Curly is like on the same level as Marlon Brando, and that he's one of those actors who you never know what the fuck he's going to do, and that's why it's so mesmerizing to watch him.
Curly was very much the Harpo Marx in that.
And just the weird noises he makes, and apparently a lot of those weird noises, like the and then a lot of that came out of the fact that he would always forget his lines. So instead of saying, I forgot my line, he'd just start making weird noises, and they'd improvise and keep going.
Right.
And then it became a trademark. So and it's interesting if you watch the early shorts, and we skipped over. I just want to shout out when they were with Ted Healy, they did some feature films, and it was these films that would have, you can find them online if you search Ted Healy and the Stooges and his Stooges.
Soup to Nuts.
Soup to Nuts is one. Dancing Lady was another one that had Clark Gable and Joan Crawford in it too, and they were moderately successful. But
they've got something with Lucille Ball too.
Well, she's in one of the early shorts.
One of the shorts, okay.
Yeah.
I knew she was.
She was best back when she was a sexy dame, but
she had blonde hair at the time.
Yeah, she was in some film noirs back then too. But anyways. Basically, these movies come out, and Ted Healy is somewhat entertaining, but his sidekicks, everybody's just laughing when the sidekicks are on the screen. And there's a bit of a bidding war over them, and Columbia ended up winning the bidding war and signed him and brought him on to do shorts. And so that's obviously the box set I'm watching. But the one thing you realize at the very beginning, the first short they did is called Woman Haters, and it's kind of stilted, and there's a lot of rhyming and
yeah, it's kind of a musical. It's a sing-song thing,
right?
And it is the first short, but I tell you, it is for me. I hate musicals, and it is tough to get through.
And that was like a pilot, and Columbia wasn't sure if they were going to continue, and Mo was basically didn't want to wait around, so him and Curly and Larry wrote the second short, which I think is Pop Goes the Weasel. It's the one where whenever Curly hears the song Pop Goes the Weasel, he becomes this raging fighting machine.
Yeah, it's basically Popeye when Popeye gets his spinach.
Yeah, and that was actually written by the Three Stooges, and they submitted that script while Columbia was waiting to see if they were going to approve any more shorts, and that jump started.
A good one. I will say
I want to finish my point though. But these early shorts, the title card at the beginning, it would say Mo, Larry, and Curly. Well, as it went on, they eventually changed it to Curly, Larry, and Mo because Curly was the fucking star. Curly was the star of the Three Stooges during this phase.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
The soup to nuts, the very first thing. It's very early into that movie, and I believe the whole movie has its own plot and everything, and then just bizarrely here's Mo, Larry, and Curly. But the beginning, somewhere in the beginning of that movie, Mo is a waiter, and he's walking through with this ginormous tray full of bowls and glasses and food and everything. And somebody, there's a superstition. If you spill salt, you got to grab the salt shaker and throw it over your left shoulder.
Right.
And Mo's walking through in that scene, and somebody just throws the salt, but the whole shaker flies out of their hand. Well, it hits Mo in the head, and he just promptly goes backwards, and the tray goes everywhere. He pops up on the screen covered in food, and he's like, "Who threw it? Who threw it?" Like he's ready to kick the living shit out of somebody.
And this was all real, and they just caught it on film?
Well, no, that's in the film. That's soup to nuts.
All right.
But that set the tone for how Mo was quick to just beat the brakes off of something.
Right, yeah. He kind of took over the Ted Healy role. And that's an early preview of it. But he was the guy slapping people around.
That set the stage right from that first feature film.
Yeah.
Where Mo was, they're always so quick to go, I'm sorry, and he'd still slap the shit out of you.
Yeah. It's funny just reading that Talking Heads book. That's what Johnny Ramone was in the Ramones. He was the Mo. He was always the one, yelling at people. And anyways, so the other thing about Curly is even after he shaved his head, it actually made him insecure. But as he got more famous, he was a little bit more comfortable with the bald head thing. But he was always a ladies' man. Even after he was fat and bald, he was still the ladies' man. And of course, if you're fat and bald and famous, it doesn't matter if you're fat and bald.
Well, he was just a beast. Yeah. I mean, you go back to same time frame. You go back to Babe Ruth. Heavy set guy, but just he had that fucking big dick
charisma.
Energy. That big dick energy. It preceded him walking in, and you see it on film. Curly the blonde. I will say the blonde flapper girl in Woman Haters. She is filthy hot.
I hear she could clear a room with a beer fart.
Yes, this chick could open a bottle with other bodily tensions, let's say.
open a bottle with her cooch. So
yeah, downtown.
yeah. So but there's a story in that Curly book about how much of a ladies' man he was. One time, him and a friend of his wingman or whatever, they're going picking up chicks. They end up picking up a mother and a daughter. This mother's like in her early 40s, the daughter's in her early 20s.
Nice.
They go back to the lady's house. They still live together in the same house. They go back to their house and Curly's up in the bedroom screwing the daughter while his wingman's down in the living room screwing the mother.
Nice.
And they high five each other and leave out. It's that kind of shit. So yeah, that's how Curly rolled.
That's how you do it.
Anyways, so they so some of the 1934 they start making these shorts for Columbia. They're making an average of 8 shorts per year. And then there was an off season where they could do whatever they wanted and go and tour. And they made a lot of their money touring in the off seasons in between when they were making the shorts. The shorts was obviously stacked in Columbia's favor, and Columbia used to tell them every year, "Oh, we don't know if we're going to renew the shorts. We're not so sure. The shorts aren't doing that well." Years later, they found out the shorts were so popular, Columbia would use them to force theaters to take B movies. So like, you want the latest Three Stooges short, you're going to have to take this clunker movie we're trying to pawn off.
They all but saved that studio, and years later they would be banned from the lot, which is just so.
Yeah, the producer that signed them, Harry Cohen, I think, something like that. He signed him when he left or died or whatever. They discontinued the shorts. The last shorts Columbia was ever making was Three Stooges shorts. But when they discontinued the shorts, then suddenly they weren't allowed on the lot anymore. They did come back when the shorts start getting played on TV, and suddenly the Three Stooges are famous again. We're telling the story in circles here, but then Columbia comes begging back to make films with them, and they end up making some films. But Columbia did come crawling back at one point. I'm not sure if they made any of those films with Columbia, but there was a comeuppance there when they just broke out on the TV landscape in the late 50s, early 60s. Yeah. Anyways, some notable shorts. You've got Men in Black, which is where they're basically play doctors at a hospital. It's called Los Arms Hospital. Yeah. And it's a famous, over the PA calling Dr. Howard, Dr. Fine, Dr. Howard. And
that's Men in Black.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, I didn't hear that. All right.
And they're running through the halls. And there's just every time they run into the director of the hospital's office, he's got a glass door. Every time they run in there, they slam the door and it breaks. And that was real glass, and someone did get hurt in the making of that
shit. Really?
But it wouldn't be the last time there was an injury of some kind. Another one, basically so in the 30s, while they're making these shorts, it's in the middle of the Depression, and so you've got a lot of storylines where they're poor guys trying to make it, and sending up rich people, showing up at these rich people's parties and causing chaos, which was probably pretty popular sentiment back in the Depression.
Sure.
And then you've got another famous one is a Plumbing We Will Go, where they're playing plumbers.
Is that the one where they're ripping up the sprinkler system?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
They steal a plumber's truck and claim to be plumbers and just completely destroy a house. And there's one scene where Curly builds himself into a cage with pipes he's putting together. It's just that's fucking classic.
One of the funnier earlier ones, it's like their third, fourth, or fifth one, there's a painter and they're throwing this mud and just blasting the shit out of each other with these huge handfuls of mud. And what became like a running gag is someone really bougie or very well dressed suddenly getting just creamed with pie.
Yeah, the pie fights were a common thing. Yeah.
Just somebody who was above all of that getting brought down by
there's just a ton of shorts where they end up at some hoity-toity party or event and just wreak havoc. A lot of I mentioned injuries earlier, so Curly, there's one where he's and this is one of the earlier ones where he's supposed to fall down on an elevator shaft, and they had it only went down, I think, like 15 feet, and there was a bunch of mattresses down there, so he's supposed to just fall out of view of the camera. Well, there was a 2x4 sticking out somehow, and as he falls, he actually split his scalp open on the 2x4. Had to get stitches. There's one hilarious fucking pratfall where Mo is standing on this board, and the board is like between two sawhorses, and Mo's standing on the board trying to reach a light bulb or something. I forget exactly. Man. And Curly saws the board in half with a fucking electric saw while Mo is standing on it, and he falls. And when you watch that, it hurts to watch. I was like, holy fuck, what a pratfall.
Well, the whole door frame falls on top of him.
That's next. Yeah, that's at the same short. That's afterwards. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But when he falls, that board because he was literally standing on a board, and Curly literally cut it in half while he was standing. Falls, and it's like he hits his rib on the sawhorse or something. Well, he broke 3 ribs during that fall because I looked it up. I had to look it up afterwards because I was like, that looks really fucking painful.
Right.
And but he continued filming for a while, and then he fainted, and they took him to the hospital.
Well, you hear stories of Larry with calluses on his face where he'd been slapped.
They'd have calluses from getting slapped. Larry got stabbed in the back of the head with a fountain pen on one of these when they were filming. So kinds of.
One of the funny, like even now, and going all the way back to being like 7, 8 years old, discovering the Three Stooges. Curly would have his head stuck in a jar or a bucket, and they couldn't get it off his head, and they would jam a crowbar in there, and then it would cut to a close-up of Curly with this crowbar all up against his face. It just killed me every time.
Yeah. And the way he was like a child, the way he would react to situations like that too. So it's just like this big fucking baby.
But I will say, hilarious. We're going on almost an hour with the Three Stooges. A lot of women do not like the Three Stooges, and that's debatable.
Well, there's a technical term for that. Do you know what that is?
No.
Uptight bitch.
Wow,
that's the technical term.
Well, that's only gonna piss him off more. But
good. If you don't like the Three Stooges, fuck off.
Yeah. Well, I do question it because I feel like I think one part of it is the base. I think the Three Stooges tend to capture exactly men at their root. Like we are all very easy to step down and get into that Three Stooges mentality.
Yeah, we tend to be this of the two sexes. We tend to be the stupider one.
But like picking up a ladder and trying to walk through a doorway. That's all Three Stooges. But I've seen it. I've seen people do it.
No, I've done it. I had we've got a bunch of pots hanging above our sink on hooks. And I'm washing one of them just the other day, and I put it up there. I think it's on the hook, and I look back down to keep washing the dishes, and it just came crashing down on everything. And my wife's in the other room. She hears me going, "Ah!"
Right.
Total fucking Three Stooges.
But so I think on some level, women don't like the Three Stooges because it's just so far below.
We can't generalize and say all women.
No, but
no, we're not going to be sexist. We're just going to say
it's not sexist. But if you let me finish,
all right.
I feel like a lot of women don't like the Three Stooges because it is so far below the level that they try to maintain.
Sure, some women, not all.
But functioning, we have a structure, we have to go to a job, we have to pay bills.
There's women in their jobs, man. I hate those women in their jobs.
Where men are just so trivial and silly.
Oh, I know, yeah.
I feel like they're like, hey, they gotta, they can't join the party on that. They can't allow Three Stooges. Because then it's chaos.
I have been getting in a little trouble of saying yuck, yuck, yuck and woo, 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 woo too much lately around the house.
Yeah.
But the thing is, again, we're not going to be sexist. It's not all women. It's only the uptight bitches.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm interested. I would love to know a female that just openly loves the Three Stooges for the silliness.
All right. But if you're a female who loves the Three Stooges, send an email to info@snagsandsilky.com and tell us.
Want to know.
And we'll talk about it. I'm sure like there's plenty of them out there. I'm not sure. He doesn't understand. It's just the uptight bitches.
I think a bigger turnoff is just the violence, the slaps in the face. It's just not funny because a lot of women did get slapped around in this time frame.
Oh, now you're getting dark, man. This is
I'm just saying it's a lot to look at.
It's a lot. Yeah, a lot of.
But anyway, let's get off of that.
Yeah, let's get off of it. A lot of strands in old Duder's head, apparently. So, anyways, So, let's see. So basically, they're doing all this brilliant comedy. There are a lot of shorts with Curly. I think it's 100 and something. I forget.
One of my favorite Curly episodes is like set in the Old West, and he's eating oyster. I mean, he's got clams in his soup bowl, and the clams spitting water at him, and he's barking.
The clams spitting water back at him. Yeah, that's fucking hilarious.
And he finally fucking pulls a gun and just shoots, just open fires on this bowl of. That I love that one, and the other one my all-time favorite is Disorder in the Court, where somebody's toupee hits the floor and Mo thinks it's a tarantula and just proceeds to open fire. Fuck.
Yeah, that is funny. I've seen both of those so far. So Curly is in 97 shorts, and I'm thankfully not through all of those yet because I'm just really enjoying watching Curly. He's just fucking hilarious. But anyways, in May of 1946, they're filming Half-Wit's Holiday, and they're doing a scene Curly's not in. He's sitting in a chair, and they're ready for Curly, and they're calling Curly, and he's not coming. So finally, Mo goes over and he sees Curly sitting in the chair, but Curly's head's hanging down. He's just kind of slumped and breathing heavily. And he's like, Curly, you ready? And he starts shaking Curly, realizes Curly can't move, but he sees tears coming down Curly's face. And he's like, oh, fuck. Because Curly had been warned by doctors for years, stop smoking cigars, stop drinking, stop staying out all night, take better care of yourself. You have high blood pressure. He'd been warned he was at risk for a stroke for years. So Mo knew what it was exactly immediately.
Jesus.
And that was the end of Curly as a stooge. He was basically retired after that, and his two brothers decided Shemp comes back to the Three Stooges at this point, and his two brothers decide they're going to, basically donate a percentage of their salary to Curly to take care of him.
Nice.
And Larry, being the stand-up cat that he is, did the same thing, even though it wasn't his brother.
Right.
So the three of them are taking care of Curly during this time.
That's beautiful.
He actually got married. He had pretty good recovery from the stroke. Not enough to be a Stooge again. He did make a cameo in one of the Shemp episodes as a different character, but he basically got married. Actually, he got better enough that he got married. He had a daughter.
I thought he had a daughter.
Yeah, he had a nice life for another 5 years, but then he died of a massive cerebral hemorrhage in 1952.
Jesus.
So Shemp returned in 1947 to replace Curly. His first short is called Fright Night. And he basically lasts until 1955, and then he dies of a heart attack.
Now, if you go back to when I was watching The Little Rascals and then Three Stooges, it would come on randomly, and you would see Shemp, Moe, and Larry, or you'd see Curly, Moe, and Larry, and that was it. And I remember really, as much as you loved Curly, for some reason, there's that guy that likes the first two Iron Maiden albums over the last.
That's me. Yeah, that's me.
I really like Shemp.
Oh, really? Yeah. I'm Curly all the way, but yeah, Shemp is really funny. He's funny.
Well, exactly. But Shemp was just something different, and he was just there was something about Shemp. I love those shorts with Shemp.
Well, Curly was the Mick Taylor, and Shemp was kind of the Ronnie Wood. He fit in and he did the job, but the brilliant moments, Curly played on Can't You Hear Me Knocking?
Yeah.
And Ronnie Wood played on Start Me Up.
I always thought Shemp was there at the beginning and not Curly.
He was there at the beginning.
Yeah.
But not but the very beginning with Ted Healy. And then he left.
I think what appeals to me is that he was first or something.
He's an OG. He's an OG Stooge for sure.
Yeah.
And they actually the studio wanted somebody who looked more like Curly to replace Curly. And Moe said, if it isn't Shemp, we're quitting.
Right.
So he forced their hand, brought Shemp in. Shemp basically he's a Stooge again in the Three Stooges shorts from 1947 to 1955, dies of a heart attack. They bring in Joe Besser. He's with them from 56 to 57. So they called him Curly Joe. And
Joe Besser and Joe DeRita both just seem so almost flamboyant. It just did not fit for me.
Joe Besser apparently was an accomplished comedian of his own, and they wanted Joe DeRita, but the studio already had Joe Besser under contract. They insisted on Joe Besser, and he actually really wasn't into it. Like they would be filming, and he would not want to get pie on him. He was just not really into it. So they had to suffer through 16 shorts with him.
That's a lot. That's a lot of work.
I know. And then Columbia closes the short department. Like you mentioned, they were locked out of the lot. But shortly after that, the Three Stooges blow up on TV in reruns, which is how you and I discovered them, 15 years later.
And you can thank Lucille Ball for all the reruns, because that was a whole...
she started the whole syndication thing.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, and then suddenly they're getting invited to make personal appearances again. They don't want to deal with Joe Besser anymore, so they go back to Joe DeRita, and Joe DeRita knows he was the original choice anyways.
Yeah.
And they start making personal appearances, and then they start making films. And it's actually Moe's daughter's husband who wrote and directed a lot of the Three Stooges films. But they do Have Rocket Will Travel. I've seen some of these when I was a kid. I haven't seen.
I remember the one them going up in the rocket.
Yeah, Snow White and the Three Stooges. Three Stooges Meet Hercules, and this is like 1959 to 1965. So this is like going on quite a while after the shorts. In the 1965, they release a cartoon, an animated series
Yeah, the cartoons were something.
Yeah.
At this point, it's just like beating a dead horse, but you keep you watch it because you love them.
And they're breaking in the money. They're actually making a lot more money in this phase than they were back in their heyday because
Wow.
they're negotiating the deals for the movies.
Sure.
They do a different studio for each movie, whoever the highest bidder is.
Well, and you could tell that Mo and Larry were in for the long haul. If they could have kept doing it well into the damn 90s, they would have.
Oh, yeah. It's like Motorhead. They're just going to do it until they die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they do the Three Stooges cartoon. There's live action segments in between the cartoons. 1969, they start filming a pilot. It was going to be called Kook's Tour, and it was going to be the Three Stooges tour the world, and it was going to be like a travel show featuring the Three Stooges. There's actually footage out there if you search Kook's Tour on YouTube, but Larry suffered a stroke during the filming, and that put an end to that. That was the end of the Three Stooges. There was a brief period where they were considering replacing Larry, but that didn't happen. And then Joe Dorita wanted to continue the Three Stooges, and Mo gave him the blessing, but nobody was interested in the Three Stooges without Larry or Mo.
We have to say, in 1970, Mo gets a phone call.
I was just going to bring that up. You read my mind.
Go ahead.
No, you tell the story. Tell a story.
Mo gets a phone call. Was it Ashton who called him?
It was Ron Ashton, yeah.
Ron Ashton. So Ron Ashton calls Mo. How do you track down Mo Howard?
He was in the Yellow Pages. They're in L.A. Yeah, they look him up in the Yellow. There he was, fucking Mo Howard in the Yellow Pages.
They say, hey, Mo's standing in his kitchen, and they say, hey, I'm in a band, and we really want your blessing. We want to call our band the Stooges. And Mo's like, I don't give a fuck what you call it.
As long as it's not the Three Stooges.
As long as it's not the Three Stooges. It's just fucking hilarious. And I'm sure Mo hangs up and goes back to his day and never thought another thing about it.
Punk, and as you said, they were original punk rockers in a lot of ways, and that's a perfect name for the first real punk band.
Oh, absolutely.
Perfect fucking name.
Absolutely.
So anyways, Larry Fine dies in 1975. Mo in January. Mo dies in May of 1975, and
that's the end of an era.
That's the end of the era. Yeah. That's basically it. I mean, that's the Three Stooges right there in a nutshell.
But they would influence so many things from a time of other famous comedic duo.
Fucking Jim Carrey, John Belushi.
Yeah, but I'm saying, all the way back, Abbott and Costello.
A lot of people were influenced by the Three
Charlie
Stooges.
Chaplin, Buster Keaton.
I don't know if those guys were influenced by the Three Stooges because they were.
Well, no. I'm just saying your slapstick era.
Yeah.
Would all, but the Three Stooges were just, to this day, it's timeless. A lot of that slapstick is just timeless because you can relate to it. We've all laughed our asses off at somebody falling down, and and this is the thing is we'll see somebody like bizarrely not die, and they're laying there laughing their ass like, oh my God, and you can't help but laugh,
Yep.
And that's just comedic gold. It goes all the way back. So,
yeah. Can't beat it.
No. But definitely go on Amazon Prime and watch the Three Stooges, watch these original things and realize that that's a guy literally getting slapped in the face and
and in some cases literally breaking his ribs or getting stabbed in the head with a pen.
They're giving it everything.
What they did so that you could laugh is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. It's no CGI, no fucking prima donna bullshit of I'm not going to get slapped in the face again. These guys just hit me as hard as you can, and we're just going to keep going, you know.
Yeah.
And I challenge anybody. We at some point we're all going to look. You're not hitting me in the face again. These guys did it for 30 years.
Yeah. Now they could lighten the slaps a little bit when they went from stage to film because they had sound effects added.
Sure,
but
sure,
still.
but I mean, you're still getting poked in the eyelids.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
still, you know,
they would actually technically poke them on the eyebrow right above the eyes.
Yeah. But you know, that's all. Hoping
sometimes you miss, and
how many
sometimes
takes
you miss and get poked in the eyes.
Jammed right dead in the eyeball.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, we got more cool shit coming up, so stay tuned. And until then, check out some Three Stooges. Peace out.
Deuces.